welcome back to Behind the Bands, a show where we get a closer look at some of Joplin area's musicians and performers. I'm your host, Yaneli Lopez, and today we dive into the live music of James Weaver from Racine, Missouri, a soulful folk rock, blues, and Americana artist who's venturing into the world of performing after playing 15 years as a hobby. So let us start off the night with one of his original songs, Hellbound to Memphis.
I'm on that highway, hellbound for Memphis. I've only got one thing stuck in my mind. I know it's one thing to love another, and I know it's different when I only love mine. But how do I choose which words to live by when I've got 3 words stuck in my mind? Oh, I love you, I hate you, and I need you. I'm just caught up in your beautiful light. But it feels like a one-way train forever, and I'm just chasing the big blue sky. I wanna find you in an orange sunset, and I'm just living in this beautiful life. And I've been deep in the bottle. Oh, I've signed my name to an early grave, and I've been off the top and the bottom. Either way, I feel the same. But I was striking deals with the devil. Oh, I was wishing for a fortune and fame. I wanna live my life like I'm a rock star, 'cause I died at an early age. While on that highway, hellbound for Memphis, I've only got one thing stuck in my mind. Well, I know it's one thing to love another, and I know it's different when I only love mine. I know it's different when I only love mine.
We're here now in the studio with James Weaver. James, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. You?
Not too bad. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, yeah,
So
of
the
course.
song we just heard is Hellbound to Memphis. Can you describe that song for us?
That song is, to be honest, thinking about that song, it really brings me up because when I wrote that song, it was in a very low point in my life. I'd done a couple stints in jail and was in and out of, addiction and recovery and, having fights with, certain people in my life. And a couple years after all that happened, I wrote that song and just trying to reflect on it. And sometimes that's how songs are, I mean, past events, years later, you can kind of come to realize, this is how I feel and this is how I want to go and move forward. And that's what that song really highlights for me. It touches on, where I was and what I was doing and how I was feeling and what I wanted out of life. And then, singing it kind of gets that out for me, gets that feeling off my chest. So that's what that song is.
Okay, yeah, songs about, I guess, real life experience. A lot of people can always relate to that, and
Indeed.
it makes it more special. That's true. So you have been playing for 15 years. When did you first start actually performing?
I started performing about 6 months ago, if my math is correct, early November of last year.
Really?
Yeah.
15 years, that's a lot. So you obviously are really good at playing. So how did you get started in playing?
Well, the story goes, when I was a kid, my mom would always bust out the guitar anytime the power would go out. So around this time of year, the power would always be going out with the storms and such, and we'd break out candles and she'd break out her guitar. And one day she wasn't there, and I was, just kind of wondering, I just still want to do my guitar and candlelight. I have to play it. And, I didn't know anything. And I just picked it up and started strumming it, and it obviously didn't sound great. Mm-hmm. And she came home while I was playing her guitar, and instead of getting upset with me, she sat down and she taught me chords.
So I guess she was your teacher then?
She taught me to an extent, yeah.
Okay. So besides your mom, was there other members of the family that were in the music industry or something like that?
No, and my mom wasn't really in the industry either. It was her hobby, and it was something I took inspiration from because I saw that any time that she was feeling down, she'd pick up the guitar and she would write and she'd play, but she had no desire to do it professionally ever. Mm-hmm. She just wanted it to be a pastime, and I took up on that. I never saw it as a profession until I was probably 16, and I started diving into music. But she taught me the first 3 or 4 chords I needed to know, and I took off from there. And YouTube's a big ally.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it all branches from one thing. I think, I can attribute that to her for sure.
Okay, and then we do see that you do play you always, of course, play the guitar, but you also play the harmonica. Is there other instruments?
I can make noise on about anything.
Really?
I picked the harmonica up maybe a month ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I just sat in my studio for about 12 hours and played the harmonica, and I'm sure my neighbors loved me. But we figured it out enough to make me feel like I could bring it on stage, and so I do that now. Currently learning how to play the piano.
Oh, wow.
Indeed. Yeah, that's quite the task.
That is a lot. I've heard it's a lot harder. I don't know, but so you do, of course, do originals and covers. So who are some of your influences then?
Some of my biggest influences stem from like Tyler Childers and Zach Bryan, just kind of that not modern country sound. I don't like being labeled as a country artist just because of the radio, the pop culture behind it. I feel like those artists took it to a different level. It's more folk, it's more Americana, it's more, I can listen to the words and it's poetry more than just a tune to sing along to. So those are some of my bigger influences. I didn't share it with you guys today, but I love 70s rock, and I have a lot of influences from there as well, Bob Dylan being a big one, Clarence Clearwater, and some of those guys for sure.
Okay, and then, of course, speaking of originals and covers, the next song is a cover of the Rock, Salt, and Nails. Can you tell us why you chose that song?
I chose that song because it's one of the biggest songs, I think, personally, that is open to interpretation by anybody. And the way I interpreted that song was a broken man walking through the woods, and everything he sees, the trees, the birds, the stream, they're all mocking him. And he comes to term with that, and then he sets out and does something about it. And he wrote that poetry. I feel like that's what it means to me. But like I said, I think that song is so open to interpretation from everybody. And I like sharing it with folks because they find a different meaning behind it. And I like to hear what they have to think about it.
That's true. Everyone gets to enjoy it in their own way. Well, we're going to go ahead and take a listen to that song then.
Alrighty.
All right, here's Rock, Salt, and Nails by James Weaver.
By the banks of the river, where the willows hang down, the wild birds they warble with a low moaning sound. Way down in the hollow, where the river runs cold, it was there I first listened to the lies you told. Now I lie on my back and I see your sweet face. The past I remember, that time can't erase. And the letters you wrote me, well, they were written in shame. And I know that your conscience still echoes my name. Now if the ladies were blackbirds, or if the ladies were thrushes, well, I'd lie there for hours in the chilly cold marshes. And if the women were squirrels, with their high bush tails, well, I'd load up my shotgun with rock, salt, and nails. Well, I'd load up my shotgun with rock, salt, and nails.
And we are back with James Weaver. So what does a typical songwriting process look like?
To be honest, it's a lot of sitting down and listening to other people's music, listening to sounds and chord progressions that I enjoy, and then from there it just comes from thinking of things. And I don't typically write much of anything down. I like to play a chord progression and sing over it, and a lot of times, mistakenly, I won't press record. So I'll sing a whole song off the top of my head and then completely forget what I said, and then I'll try and go back and piece it together. And that's typically what it looks like, is a bunch of puzzle pieces that were thrown on the floor, picked back together, and a picture was made out of them.
All right, and then speaking of recording, do you record your own songs, or do you have like your own
I don't have any of my own songs professionally recorded at this point. I do have a studio that I just finished building, so I've been recording in there from time to time, but I don't have a producer and nothing's out for anybody to listen to, unfortunately.
Not yet. Is that something you're looking for in the future?
Oh yeah, for sure. And this will definitely highlight some of those songs. And be like, okay, go watch this.
That is true. It definitely bring audience to it. So the next song we're going to listen to is called West Side of Tennessee. Can you describe that song real quick?
This song is, it's kind of a sequel almost to Hellbound to Memphis. It's kind of me coming out on the other side of that and discovering what my passion is and how I feel about things. And, you know, that's how about all my songs is, you know, how I'm feeling in the moment that I wrote them. But I would say that's more of a sequel to Hellbound to Memphis because it's me coming out on the other side and choosing to do better and do something with my life of value.
All right. We're going to take a listen to that song.
Alrighty.
This burning man is leaving to the west side of Tennessee, 'cause I can't fight the feeling the music brings to me. Feels like every day I'm losing, God be on my side. How did I wind up here in Tennessee, fighting for my life? 'Cause I'd fallen to the bottom end, the west side of Tennessee, running from the trouble that I found out in New Orleans, and told the last sip in the bottle, I fell down to my knees. Every word that I've spoken became a long lost company. Why don't you meet me in the middle, make up for long lost time? I'm wandering round in this lonely town, looking for an alibi. I know my heart is coarse and brittle, I know I've lost my mind, between the shooting stars and the burning bars on a red hot summer's night. 'Cause I've fallen to the bottom end, the west side of Tennessee, and I'm running from the trouble that I found out in New Orleans, and told the last sip in the bottle, I fell down to my knees. Every word that I've spoken became a long lost company. Every word that I've spoken became a long lost company.
We're now back with the singer-songwriter James Weaver. So, of course, we just heard West Side of Tennessee. We do have one more cover left. So, you did mention, you were talking to me earlier about somehow some artists kind of go off of, I guess, moral compass and stuff. How does that influence the music you choose and your career goals?
With the moral compass, you know, it's I always try to be a voice for those that don't have a voice. And it's hard being in the position that I am in, you know, doing shows for people and trying to get hired places. And, you know, one day if it does blow up, you know, and I've got millions of people looking at my every move, it becomes hard to have a voice for those. But that's something that I want to choose to do because not many people have the courage to do that. You know, standing up for those that can't stand up for themselves, and just trying to be a good man in the process of making the music. You know, a lot of people fall off the path, and that's something that I've dealt with myself. And so, you know, it's a little scary facing the limelight sometimes, but that's something that I look forward to the challenge.
That's true. And then when we spoke earlier, you did mention that your mom taught you, but you didn't go to school professionally for music or anything. Would you wanted to have gone to school for music?
I've thought about schooling for music, and you know, I've thought about if school is really the right thing for me or important to me, and I think I've decided that the most important thing is dedicating yourself to something early on. And, you know, if school's a part of that, then that is important, you know, and people should go for that. For me, I think it's more of, you know, playing more, practicing more, writing more, and, you know, if I could be taught tempo, that would be nice.
Yeah.
You know, maybe I need to go to tempo school.
Well, so are you hoping that are you wanting to keep this as a side gig, or are you wanting a full-time job, or how's that?
I would love to quit my day job.
Okay.
I'm up at 4 a.m. every morning. I'm actually helping build on this new MSSU building over here.
Oh, really?
I do believe so, yeah.
You
I
do
saw
believe
it in
so?
I saw it in the schedule. The boss was talking about it, but yeah, I do commercial construction full time. And that's not to say that, you know, playing music and doing shows isn't a full-time gig in itself. You know, I have 2 full-time jobs is what I like to tell people. So, but yeah, I'd love to quit my job, but I also love it there, and the people treat me well, and they allowed me to be here today instead of out there working. So, you know, but yeah, to answer your question, yeah, I'd love to just do music full-time. It'd make me be able to focus on it a lot better.
Yeah, you can slowly work your way, or rapidly work your way up there, since you
Yeah.
said you've been getting a lot of like performance and stuff.
Yeah,
But
this is all just come full circle, you know.
But speaking of which, how can the audience, if somebody wants to book you, how does that work? How do they contact you?
So I do all my booking myself, and that's the full-time part of it. Most of it's done through email and Facebook. You find me on Facebook, just James Weaver. It's my personal and my professional account. It all goes through the same place. But, you know, can I plug my email?
Yeah. Yeah?
Okay, the email is jamswee2003@gmail.com. And yeah, that's how people get a hold of me. That's how Lisa got a hold of me.
Really? Do you have like social media or like your own, I guess?
Just the Facebook. I have an Instagram, but I don't use it much.
Okay.
And yeah, I don't really dive into social media too much. I'll watch my TikToks, but that's about it. I do have TikTok.
You do have TikTok for your.
Yes.
What's your tag? I guess tag name, is that the right word?
Jimmy Weave. So it's Jimmy Weaver without the R, and then 003.
All right.
Indeed.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show with me today.
Of course, thanks for having me.
This has been a look behind James Weaver on Behind the Bands. Join us next time again as we talk to another local band and get a taste of their music. I'm your host, Yaneli Lopez. Thanks for watching Behind the Bands. As we say goodnight, we have one more from James Weaver. Here is Follow You to Virgie.
Back before these calloused hands and all this world, we used to sit up at the flats, acting like we'd live forever, getting high and skipping class. Yeah, I reckon we were heathens, but in her eyes we were saints. Now I'm calling all the boys home, 'cause heaven's angels carried her away. So I will follow you to Virgie, although it hurts me, oh, to lay to rest a mountain beauty the Lord's called home. And I can see her up in glory, oh, I can see her through the pine. Back when all us boys were trying to make sense of all these strings, I could see her in the corner singing along to all my crazy dreams. So I will follow you to Virgie, although it hurts me, oh, to lay to rest my mind and beauty. The Lord's called home, and I can see her up in glory. Oh, I can see her through the pine. She said, boy, be good. Well, I'm trying. So I will follow you to Virgie, although it hurts me, oh, to lay to rest a mountain beauty. The Lord's called home, and I can see her up in glory. Oh, I can see her through the pine. So I will follow you to Virgie. That's what us boys are for, to help you out when you get weary and you can't go no more. And I can see her up in glory. Oh, I can see her through